Mr. Ramaswamy, welcome. Please introduce yourself to the audience and kindly start your valuable presentation.
Thank you so much. My name is Narayanan Ramaswamy. I'm a partner with KPMG. I work out of the India office. I lead the skill development education program for the region. And earlier to this, for about 15 years, I was working in the financial services space. And I worked across the globe, including multiple assignments in Africa. So it gives me immense pleasure to be invited to this August audience. And what a wonderful forum you have. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I'm going to spend the next few minutes describing, my thoughts in terms of what is changing in banking, particularly the cost aspects of it, which is, I guess, the core of the agenda. And my interest is, of course, the core of cost optimization and how the job roles and the future of some of these roles is going to play a key role in cost optimization and hence how banking is evolving, right? Like a true consultant, I have a slide deck. I'm going to share that slide deck with you. And after this presentation is over, I would also request you to, if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer, right? So let me start without any further ado. Cost transformation, particularly in the emerging banking scenario in Africa, in Egypt, is the topic. And I'm going to talk briefly about what are some of the emerging cost priorities and hence the operating models, and hence how is it changing the new skill sets and job roles that are required, and way forward, how do we address them? The new thinking of cost efficiencies actually started or triggered by COVID. It's not only because of COVID. Technology has been a big enabler and all the industry 4.0 related changes have been effective. And while they were happening, COVID-19 and the lockdown hit the whole world. And that threw up two issues. One is revenue loss, and second is the cost with respect to the revenues that the banks were getting. So when we did this survey across the globe, we came upon top two issues, and 21% of them said revenue loss is the biggest issue, and 20% of them said managing cost is the big issue, right? So naturally, banks double down on the cost management part, and 83% of those we surveyed said they are refocusing on their cost optimization efforts. And a whooping 85% of them said they're accelerating these programs. As a result, 61% said cost reduction should be strategic priority. And not so surprisingly, close to 60% said digitization is the most important lever in terms of achieving this cost. So the cost reduction targets for many banks across the world increase, and this is equally good in Egypt as well. And they have increased their targets to up to 10% of the overall base to save the cost, and 19% of them said it will be even more than 10%. Having said that, many of these cost savings are not going to happen immediately, right? Some of them said it will happen immediately, but 66% of them said it will happen over 3 years. 15% of them said they will try and make it in the next 12 months. And all of them, and this is the point that I'm driving, overwhelming 91% said it needs a committed leadership to achieve this greater efficiency, and culture and accountability within the organization is the most important parameter to achieve it. Having said that, 58% of them rated their culture, only 58%, less than 60% rated their culture as supportive of a cost optimization objective. So what needs to be done? Banks targeting such changes in their operating model need to relook at the new operating model and what kind of changes that need to emerge. So that brings us into the cost priorities. And as a result of this, the efforts have been refocused and accelerated in optimizing cost, and targets have actually increased, mostly in the medium term, but in the short term as well. And on the right-hand side, you see the parameters where cost reduction and their importance are seen in the next 12 months. The digital technologies, the digitization legacy IT transformation. Some of those things are occupying artificial intelligence, rapid automation. All those things are occupying the top slots. But it's not all. There is also a clear move towards how do we optimize the headcount? How do we optimize the manpower? How do we do cuts in services and business units because of the changes that are emerging in customer service? How do we control the sourcing, third party costs, even the real estate? Some of them even considered about closing some of these branches given the online manifestation that is happening across. Like, there is a proliferation of people getting into online mobile banking. Why do you need so many branches? So all across, if you notice, the dark blue one on the right hand side says it is more important, and on the decreasing order, digitization is the highest. And you will notice that most of them are rooting for this. Most of the banks are hence, and many of you in the audience, I'm sure, have set a focused agenda in terms of cost. Now, that's not just in terms of strategy. Well, the strategy includes the operating model, geographies, markets, products. Some of the digital technologies have permeated into how the products also are, given in the marketplace. But it's also in terms of how do you make it simple enough for everybody in the organization and extended organization embrace this change, right? It could be in terms of the structure of the organization itself, or some of the strategies and accountability that comes across the organization. It also meant what we call as engineering, that is making it happen in the organization that needs to happen. And you see a chart in terms of the relative importance of various of these optimization techniques that is going to reduce cost. But this also meant that it is not just you put the right measures there and it will automatically happen. A very clear, well-defined and an objective that is understood by most of the organization. Some of the smart cost transformation initiatives should become almost a permanent feature of the bank. It's not one of those stopgap arrangements. And cost takeout areas and benefits should be clearly defined. A target operating model, the new operating model in future needs to be clear, and a strong culture, a change in the culture, including the key performance indicators for individual roles. All of them aligned to this cost optimization is required. That means the leadership's commitment, like I said in the very beginning, is going to be very important. On the right hand side, you see how the following attributes are in the survey that we did are rated by many of these people. Very few people have said it is unimportant, be it executive performance, be it upskilling the team members, or having the clear KPIs in terms of reducing cost, or a CEO, the leader and the CEO who is operationally minded and is more working towards it, or even making new hires who have experience in cost reduction, cost management is going to be important. Now, what does this mean in terms of the actual models that will happen, and why is it important? The new channels in banking landscape are all geared towards this. The digital delivery model, which by design are less in cost. There is an initial cost, but overall at an operating level, they are less. How do we accelerate them? How do you streamline bank branches, and how do you seamlessly integrate them with the digital channels? How do you shift to a digital economy where you're using some of the Industry 4.0 features like artificial intelligence, digital payments, cyber security, and related areas? All this means the newer operating model where your core function and outsourcing function needs to be relooked at. And the new normal of working from remote places, people using mobile phones, younger population who don't even want to visit branches, all of those things need to be taken into account. Not to forget the risk management aspects of it. It's easier to do in the cyberspace, but the security threat also increases. Analytics becomes very important. How do you capture data? How do you keep it clean? How that analytics should be used in risk management becomes very important. And I'm again underlying, it's not all these hard factors, but the soft factors within the staff, within the leadership, within the people, within customers, on how to be responsible, not just in the banking related areas, but bank being a responsible citizen in the larger frame of things, be it in terms of environmental consciousness, be it in terms of diversity in agenda and also corporate governance and related areas. All of these things will define the new operating model, and hence my point on how this will lead to job roles and the skill sets that are required for these new job roles that are going to be very crucial to achieving this, right? If you look at the right hand side, I've just highlighted few of those that are going to change. We are all used to customer service agents handling these calls. Would you believe that already some of these agents are not who you think they are? Most of it is handled by bots, and very rarely, for exceptions, you actually speak to a real person. And we used to, you have social media personnel for analysis and responding to queries. So that's gone. The social media specialists are all now, using artificial intelligence and again bots and machine language to program and analyze and respond to these things on the fly. Risk management professionals used to handle huge volume of stuff, not anymore. And many of the compliance issues are highlighted, and the professionals now focus on solutions. Look at the shift that happens. Here was somebody who was sifting through data to find how compliance is done, to a risk professionals focusing on solutions on how do you solve it. Business development professionals traditionally are known to speak to the customers and onboard them. The customers are onboarding themselves, and they need only some advice from the professionals, and they don't want them full time. So how do you change the roles of these people? Most important is credit supervisor, who played such a huge role in the traditional banking space, and now it's not the supervisor is going to grant loans. Supervisor is there only when problems are need to be resolved. Otherwise, normally it is being taken over by an automated system. So on that brings the focus on the left hand side. Bankers' usage of information technology of future, enhanced automation, the human machine interface, and also using risk, or cleverly using risk, using the data and the various analytics that are available right now, which was not there before, is going to be paramount importance for us in future. Is the Egyptian banking sector ready? We think so. And in our past interactions with EBA and other regulators, we believe the Egyptian banking is getting ready for this, and they have made a number of measures, be it the banking norms or the focus on SMEs that is going to increase the credit. Though the ticket size might come down, it's going to increase the overall offtake. Digital initiatives and financial inclusions have been a part of Egyptian banking's focus. And some of the economic factors, if you notice in the pandemic, there was hardly a lull. Many other economies faced a big threat. But in Egypt, the banking BFSI sector was not so badly hit. So even the economic factors seem to be favoring a new normal, where while the banking norms change, like I said, the cost optimization, the roles change, it is going to augur well for it. And towards this, I should commend EBI for coming up with a national banking sector competency framework, a framework that is going to define what are the future roles. And for those who want to join the banking space, it not just tells what is their role, but it will also tell them what is their career progression and what kind of continuous professional development that they should have. And this, in my view, is going to be the core of the change that we are seeing. And I'm confident the Egyptian banking sector will come out a winner in all these changes that are happening. Let me take a pause here, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have. Thank you so much once again for giving me this wonderful opportunity.